Hey everyone, welcome to Passive Play. So today we have Zatima, Season 2, Episode 5, titled Now What You Think. Well, the cat's out of the bag now. Fatima's mama knows Fatima's living there with Zach. Zach has not made the best first impression as he's holding Deja's trifling butt in his hands at one point and then coming out of her house when Fatima comes home with her mom hanging outside waiting to be let into the house. It's also more awkward from there as Fatima is clearly pissed with Zach and Deja now and trying to save face in front of her mom. Zach is saying his home and not theirs, which is a sign that things are not going well. Fatima still has her place and is not owning living there full time either. One because of her mom, but because just that whole situation was awkward. Their whole vibe is off, and Fatima's mom is picking up on it. She does apologize for barging in unannounced and invites both of them for dinner on Saturday at her house. Now, we do learn Fatima's biological father was in and out of prison, and Mama could tell Zach was in prison too, just by like looking at him, apparently. Like, okay. But she is grateful for her husband slash Fatima's stepfather for getting them out of the gutter, and she leaves on her merry way. But she's like, I'm gonna give Zach the benefit of the doubt. And when Fatima gets back in the house, instead of talking to each other, they basically play the silence game, her and Zach. At this point, Deja is just annoying and playing way too much, and it's not cute. What is her end game overall? She is trying to die or end up in the hospital. At this point, for real, between Madam and keep messing with Fatima, it just is not going to end well. Since Zach is a landlord, he does have to make sure any complaints Deja makes about her apartment are at least assessed because she could sue or report him. But she does need to go because she is unnecessarily creating and causing problems. Like by Felicia. She's just creating and causing problems. Well, she's not helping. They have problems on their own that don't necessarily have anything to do with Deja per se, but because of her being there, she's problematic, and she's not adding to making it easier for them. She's just adding to the overall distress of it all. And since Zach and Fatima are playing the silence game, Fatima leaves and she goes to Club Eden with Angela, where they basically go to talk and blow off some steam. And from this episode too, I would say maybe Zach and Fatima should try couples therapy. At this point, yeah, at this point, it really couldn't hurt for them to kind of get an impartial point of view for them both when Angela and Fatima leave the club tipsy and a little bit drunk. Against Fatima's suggestion of taking a rideshare or an Uber or a Lyft, Angela gets in the car of Sean, a man she met at the club, and Fatima goes with them because she's not going to leave her friend out there hanging with a stranger that the girl don't know. And in this moment too, Angela is a little reckless in her drunken state either way. And at least it's both of them and not just one of them. And at this point too, Deja knows someone who works at Club Eden, so she ends up sending Zach photos of Fatima at the club saying he can't trust Fatima basically, and he should do whatever he wants with her. And then the episode ends. So when we go into episode 6, which is titled Too Close for Comfort, we open with Sean. He drops off Angela and Fatima Well, actually, I take it back. He drops off Angela at her house, and she kind of like literally comes to the door, like falls or kind of face plants a little bit, because she's drunk. But I thought that was kind of funny. But that happens to a lot of people. And Fatima lets him know that she has a gun and she's not drunk or tipsy. Um, and she ends up letting him drive her home. Now, too, Fatima thinks that she blocked, Sean from getting with Angela in her drunken state, and she's trying to be a good friend, but she does not actually end up succeeding. Angela is intentionally looking for her cup. There's this one line when Angela asks him, she's like, "Do you like dick?" And he's like, "No, but my own." It's like, "Yes, I do." I thought that was funny. It was like, "My own." Uh, yeah, but I thought that was hilarious. Um, and then we go back to Zach and Deja, and Zach is trying to reason with Deja to kind of get a clue and stop the stunts and shows, stop it with all the shenanigans. And Deja is like, "No, what's in it for me? I should at least get some of your vitamin D, for Fatima hurting her back." And Zach just leaves. And of course, Fatima sees him coming out of Deja's apartment hard. He's hard in his shorts because Deja's been like half naked. She needed help in the tub. She couldn't turn off her record player because her back is hurting. She got a neck brace. She's doing too much. At this point, her character is like really annoying. Um, she might have to die. I don't know because it doesn't seem like she's gonna get a clue, or she would have to be really put in danger to the point where like she fears for her life in order to kind of just like exit herself from that situation. But I will say we get to this point when, as Zach is coming out of Deja's apartment and Fatima's coming home, getting out of Sean's car, they kind of end up having this conversation in bed, more or less. And after Zatima's conversation in the bed, with Fatima wearing her mom's moo nightgown, that Zach says, "Your mama don't want you to have grandkids ever." A couple of things are clear to me from the conversation when they are in bed. Yes, they don't know everything about each other. I mean, I feel like as long as you know somebody, things are always going to change. So people evolve. As much as you know, there's always more to learn. But it's only been about a year, I guess, in the timeline of the show. And they've said it, I think, in this episode or the last episode, that they've only been dating for about a year in the timeline of the show, even though it's been like multiple seasons over Sisters, and this is now like the second season of Zatima. But they don't, they clearly at this point don't trust each other the way that they're acting now. And because of the things with, and I mean, I think it's a combination of things. I think, yes, it's Deja and what she's doing, and I guess Zach trying to maybe be a good guy, but clearly he is attracted to her, even though he knows if he f's that up, if he does cheat, that it's going to be over between him and Fatima. And I think it is a bit, and it is the reintroduction, or the reintroduction of him being around his mother and all those feelings and emotions and things that he doesn't care to talk about, and just kind of willing from that. His brother as well, he kind of kept a distance from them for a reason. And I think with both of them coming back into play, and Fatima getting hit on too, and even the thing where she had the guy pretend to be like her baby's father that he didn't know about, to kind of test him, or to be like, now you know what it feels like, kind of a thing. I think all those things are it's kind of coming to a boil, and how they're kind of feeling about each other. And I think it's just really affecting them in a very negative way at this point. the way that they're always attracting people. There's always going to be another Paul, Deja, Connie, or Bryce, or Bryce's, or whatever. They just need to work on having trust in each other and not letting it falter when some other man or woman is trying to get their attention or trying to get at them or holler at them or whatever you want to call it. They just really need to focus on each other. And it's possible too, at the end of the day, neither one of them may be ready for this, whether it's maybe to get married. I think, a lot of couples do therapy, and they probably just need to do some couples therapy. And two, earlier, Zach said that he got the house for them, but he keeps calling it his, even though it is supposed to be their house. Fatima still has her apartment just in case and is threatening to call movers to get her stuff. So, did she ever really believe this was going to work? And did Zach even believe that it was going to work? Because, I mean, they kind of have this where they're going back on claiming that that space is theirs, or even trusting that the relationship is valid, or that they're loyal to each other and that they should trust each other. Let Fatima decorate to add herself to the space as well. Let her put her own spin on the space, let her decorate or whatever. Even though at this point, with him having two kids, I don't even know if that space is really big enough, unless they get Deja out of there, kick Deja out, knock down that wall, and then you expand the space. But he basically has he has a kid, we know for certain, but then he apparently has another kid on the way with Karen. So I mean, they just have that upstairs area. You got the closet on one side, and then like the bathroom. Then you got like the kitchen and the dining room and all that down below. I didn't see it unless there's other rooms down there that we don't see. But I don't know if that space is big enough for like the two kids. And then they want kids of their own. So I guess I'm looking at the big picture. I'm looking at the big picture. But either way, yeah. So it'll be, yeah. I don't know. I think they just need more space. But either way, and two, when they do fight, they keep trying to one each other up. So you keep saying this is fine. Well, I'm gonna say this, and then no. It's like one says this, and the other one says that, and then they say, "Oh, well, you're gonna say this, so then I'm gonna say that." That kind of back and forth. It just becomes petty, and it goes nowhere, but leaving them feeling worse than before. They both made points that were valid, but just aren't listening to each other overall to get through kind of the other side of working through their problems. And at the end of the day, or at the end of basically near the end of this episode, Fatima decides to go stay at Angela's. And yeah, at this point, they're really just not. They're not listening. They're not hearing. They're not even really talking. They're just kind of attacking each other. And so I just think that they probably would do good with therapy. And at this point, Zach does need to have some like individual therapy as far as how his childhood was and his relationship with his mother and brother and all that. Probably even with being in jail and all of that. He probably needs to have some multiple therapy sessions just to deal with that. But if he wants to, as far as him being a husband and being a father and what that looks like and how to maybe best assess how he can be the best version of those things as well as the best man that he can be, he's going to need therapy outside of them also probably needing couples therapy too. And Zach, tends to have a problem to speak to his feelings or even says that he needs help. And so it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. Now we go to Nathan, who still doesn't seem to know if he wants to be single or married after his bat beating from his wife in the last episode of season 1. And instead of focusing on his own relationship with his wife and his two kids, he is looking at a dating app. and sees a profile of Fatima with her location being on Condor Street, which I'm assuming may be Angela's house because that's where she's at, in the next morning and whatnot. But of course, Nate he has to let Zach know, and then when he does let Zach know, Zach just ends up hanging up on him. And when we go back to Angela's house, Sean ends up leaving as Bryce is right in the doorway and comes in to talk to Angela. Now, Bryce is acting confused and doesn't understand why she's been avoiding him. Angela's like, okay, let's have dinner with Zach and Fatima. Now, when, basically, and Angela's like, well, let's have dinner with Zach and Fatima to get more clarity so everyone is on buck with each other. Everyone has the same information and there's no confusion. Now, when Bryce asks Angela about Sean, Angela's like, you don't get to ask me that. And Bryce is like, that's where we're at now. And she's like, yeah. Angela's like, yes, boo. And Bryce is like, good to know, and storms out, kind of slamming her door. And again, I said it in the last review, more or less. I don't know if, I don't know if Bryce might be one of those types, like, they, if I have not cheated on you with another woman, so it doesn't count, but he would sleep with another man and be like, that doesn't count, that don't count. But yes, it does count. But some people operate in that space, like for Colored Girls with Janet Jackson and dude from Power. I can't think of his name right now, but in that scene where he's like, I've never cheated on you with another woman, I promise you. And she's like, what about man? Right? In that scene. And I feel like Bryce might be operating in that kind of logic, it seems. And I can understand Angela not knowing how Bryce is going to react with her not being in dating a bisexual man, if Bryce claims that's what he is, or if he owns it, or at least in front of Angela. But with all of them there, at this dinner, maybe they can get it settled once and for all. Um, and then we end up showing, after that, Fatima gets home and she speaks to the therapist that Paul recommended for Zach, but instead she sets up an appointment for just herself to meet this guy. And she ends up hearing Zach moaning upstairs. And when she gets upstairs, she ends up seeing him using the side chick pussy. And then the episode ends. And so maybe this will, this moment, this ending moment, with Zach and the side chick pussy or whatever, maybe this will ice break them into talking a little bit in the next episode, because initially Fatima goes up upstairs thinking that he's with another woman, probably Deja or whoever else it could be. She's ready to, like, set it off. And so since it ends on that moment, after that, that may be a kind of icebreaker. Maybe they'll laugh about it, and maybe it can kind of break the tension a little bit, and maybe they can have a conversation. Um, will Zach agree to have this dinner with Bryce and Angela? Because he basically has told Bryce that after these last two houses or whatever, he wants to kind of dissolve their business relationship. If they can get to some kind of, I guess, I guess if Bryce can own his kind of misrepresentation of himself, he maybe could fix it with Zach, because I don't necessarily think Bryce is a bad person. I just think that his misrepresentation of his intentions with Zach and even Angela and not being forthcoming with them has really kind of muddied the waters of all of those relationships, because he seems to be good at what he does, and I would say he initially genuinely seemed to want to help Zach and see Zach win, but I mean, it seems like he just had ulterior motives, which is what Zach is questioning too. And so, I mean, we'll see how that goes. And then at this point, we're getting down to the last four episodes. Will Zatima get closer to a wedding date or further away from a wedding date being set? They haven't even discussed the wedding really yet, other than they're engaged. He proposed, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, how long is this going to? How long is it going to take for them to even get to a wedding? To Fatima start making plans and things and whatnot. It seems like the therapy alone could be a whole nother. Yeah, the therapy by itself could probably be the third season or a bit of this season going into the third and fourth, whatever. But who knows how long it may take for them to get to the actual the wedding dates. I mean, those are really my thoughts over these episodes. I kind of just explain stuff as I went along. But I mean, overall, I like these two episodes. It's moving the story forward. I do think it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I'm interested to see how Fatima would interact with, again, I said it before, how Fatima would interact with Zach's mom. It'd be interesting to see how Zach's mom and Fatima's mom would interact with each other. It'll be interesting to see a lot of these different things, to see how some of these characters will interact with each other, just to see how they would react. It'll be interesting to see, I would say, more or less. But overall, I thought the episodes were good again. So, let me know your thoughts. What did you think of the review? Hit the like button if you like it. Help the channel go. Help the channel go. Help the channel grow and subscribe. Check out some of my other videos, my other reviews. Last season, this season. Check out some of my other stuff as well. Thank you for staying. If you stayed through the entirety of this review. Other than that, I will see you next time. Have a great rest of your day, and bye bye.